Hey everyone, we are United by Rice, where we talk about all things API and and entertainment and beyond. My name is Junko and I'm here with my co-host.
Yep, and I'm Ben Lee, and excited to talk to you today. We've got maybe a change of pace because it feels like we've done a lot of comedy over the last week
Mm,
plus, right? A couple
yeah,
weeks with a lot
yep.
of our belly laughs guests. Our guest today is Shuang Chu, who, not that she's not funny, and our interview does have some laughs, I would think, but she's a content creator turned actress, and many of you will know her from the Amazon film last year that came out called Five Blind Dates. But before we get into her and that movie, what have you been up to, Junko?
Yeah, I've just been, I did catch up on, K-pop Demon Hunters. Just touch on that a
Ah,
little bit. I've only watched it once and, and it's very actually there's that one song that's the catchy song that's supposed to be stuck in your head has been stuck in my head for about 2 weeks now. uh, but I guess it's turning into some sort of phenomenon, at least on social media level. Everyone's kind of taken aback, astounded that the soundtrack and a couple of those songs are in the top charts on whatever metric is used for music these days. I have no idea.
downloads, right? Probably downloads on
Yeah.
Spotify.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, very catchy. I'm like, I get it. I get it. How about like, have your kids watched it or?
No, I watched it. My kids haven't watched it, ironically. I mean, what did you think of the film itself besides the music?
Nice balance of like battle. Wait, are they supposed to be? No, they're not supposed to be teens. It's so gray
Yeah, I
that
mean,
like
all
early
K-pop artists are like
20s.
don't look older than
I
22,
know.
right? So
Yeah,
probably
anything
22.
between like 17 to 22.
Yeah.
So I thought it was yeah, I thought it was like a nice balance with like the girlfriend vibe versus the battling and these girls like with the responsibilities, I guess, which is a lot for a 22-year-old. uh so I thought it was like a nice balance, and like I felt the stakes were real within that world for them. So yeah, it was like I had like a kind of vested interest, and also it had kind of Red Panda vibes. Like you could tell that the creators really, really delved into like the girl, or like the girl transitioning to woman, like that psyche. And I think also transitioning when you're in your 20s, there's just more responsibilities in life and stuff. So I think Red Panda's um maybe for the younger girls, and then K-pop really hits that like teen tween transitioning
Yeah, you
place.
took it much deeper than I ever kind of watched it with, or a lens that I watched it with. I didn't think about demon hunting as a metaphor for your you know growing into an adult responsibility, but I guess that's maybe what they were going for.
Yeah.
I guess I should say I fairly passively watched it. I mean, we should acknowledge it seems to be a phenomenon, right? I think it's been out for almost a couple months now, at
Yeah,
least a
yeah.
month, and it's still holding on to the number one spot on Netflix as a film. And to your point, the soundtrack or the individual songs are tearing up Spotify. So it's
Yeah.
like the Korean um, Frozen, right?
Yeah.
With Let It Go. It just
Yeah.
there's probably not that level,
Right, right. Yeah.
but
So I
happy
think
for the
yeah.
success, right?
Yeah, and I guess the weird thing is that like social media or the news, they keep saying like it's a band that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, but the people who actually sing it exist. So
Right.
you know.
Yeah, it's an
So
interesting thing, right? Because and actually I don't know, maybe are the actors, the voice actors also the singers? Because I know Arden Cho
no,
sings,
no,
but
not no,
she's not doing the
no, not for
recording.
this one.
I
Yeah.
see.
So at the very end of the credits, if you keep watching, I think actually as soon as the credits starts, there's all this behind the scenes stuff of them
Mm,
recording. And I think it's of the singers recording,
okay.
I believe.
Okay.
Um because I'm like, I don't think we see Yeah, I don't remember if we saw Arden in any of those, like,
Okay.
behind the scene footage. So, yeah, yeah.
Well, it doesn't take much for, a K-pop band to start touring or whatnot, so
Mhm.
feels like something will happen out of this for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And then, like, Blackpink's touring. Jin is BTS's Jin or something. There's
Well,
another
isn't
K-pop person.
isn't KCON happening down in LA like this weekend or
Yeah,
soon?
that sounds very
Yeah.
familiar. But the timing's been good. It's obviously a
Yes.
good summer movie, a summer teen tween movie, but then like there's
Hmm.
all these groups touring right now, so they're constantly in the news anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
summer of
again,
K-pop, summer of
I
K-pop.
yeah. Well, I guess I didn't see it coming, but it's a phenomenon. I'm happy for the filmmakers. I'm happy for Arden too. We tried to get her on prior to the film coming out. Hopefully, we'll get her on at some point. I
Yeah.
discovered Arden Cho through her dog Chewy Cho, who I
Oh,
happened to follow on Instagram, and it wasn't until like probably months of following, because Chewy is a Shih Tzu too, right? And I have two
huh.
Shih Tzus.
Right.
It wasn't until, I don't know, a year into following Chewy Cho that I connected the dots. Wait a second, Arden Cho keeps talking about her dog Chewy.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it now. They're
There you go.
not related, but
Yep.
he's her dog. So
Yep.
I'm a big fan of Chewy Cho.
Yay. Yeah, so
What else
Ben,
is going on?
yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, like, yeah, how about you on your side? Your side of
Um,
things.
I can't keep myself out of extremely hot weather, but I had to go to Reno this past weekend. But I am excited about San Diego Comic-Con coming up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Starting technically, it starts probably Wednesday with preview night, but I won't get down there until Friday, in a complete non-work capacity, non-United by Rice capacity. Other than, I might try to pass out some stickers or something and introduce myself to people to find future guests, from the any world, manga, TV, video game world. So if you see someone wearing a United by Rice T-shirt, say hi. I'll give you a sticker, and we could talk, and I could tell you more about it.
We better, yeah, we
Yeah.
better. I guess you should take a photo of yourself wearing that shirt so people can identify you, because you will be the one and only person out of tens of thousands of people wearing that
Yeah.
shirt. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Easy to
like a
spot.
Where's Waldo?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not our best marketing, but we will, up that in the future for sure.
Yeah.
But I've gone to Comic Con, with my family or not, a
Mhm.
couple times without, for a long time, and it's just gotten crazier and busier,
Yeah.
as you've
Yeah.
probably seen or heard. I can't
Yeah.
remember when you said the last time you went was.
That was 2 years
Um,
ago. 2, 3
okay,
years ago?
yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so I no longer
Yeah.
set goals, right? Because
Mhm.
it's just too crowded. Everything's got too long of a line, so it's
Are
not
you
like I
looking
can
forward to
make a
anything?
list. I am looking forward to things that I've discovered over the last couple years now that I've given up on like the big chases. In other words, for anyone that's been to San Diego Comic Con, you know how crazy it is, right? Whether it's a toy you want to buy, a panel you want to see, an autograph signing you want to attend, everything's got a lottery or a super long line, right? And you just can't do it all. And
Mhm.
I don't have the patience for, people classically used to camp out for going to Hall H, right, to see your big Marvel panels, etc. I don't do any of that, so I've started to peek my head into a lot of the smaller panels over the last couple of years. And last year there's a PR firm called Impact 24 that will host like two, three, four panels, and they're a lot of the people actually I interview for awards focus, a lot of the below the line talent, your costume designers, your production designers, editors, etc. And I like seeing them. I think it's
Mm.
interesting for not only the work that we do, but just they are bringing the jobs they do to a more general audience too, so it can be a lot of fun. There's a fairly well-known voice acting panel that is a lot of fun. It's typically all, again, not household names, right? I guess most of us don't know famous voice
Mhm.
actors by name, but then when they jump in a panel they can all do these amazing voices, and usually they'll do a cold script reading of
Mm,
some like Shakespearean play, but in like Looney Tunes voices, and it's
right.
quite fun. Um, I know these aren't
Okay.
exactly the big sexy headliners. I'd say the thing that I'm probably as far as a film that
Mm,
I'm most interested in. So Fantastic Four will open that
yeah.
weekend. So they don't have a
Oh.
panel necessarily, but a little bit like I think last year.
Mhm.
Deadpool and Wolverine, same thing was happening. They did like a big drone show outside, and they had, I think, a last minute surprise panel. So I'm curious if there will be Fantastic Four stuff. And then the
Yeah.
film panel or the Hollywood panel that I am going to try to get myself into um, is Tron Ares. And
Oh.
I can't say I'm like this lifelong Tron fan, but I've seen the trailer for this one. Greta Lee, who's a favorite, is
Mhm.
in it.
Yep. You
So,
love
you
Greta
know,
Lee. You
I
love
do
Greta.
love Greta Lee. I do love
You
Greta
are
Lee.
a fan.
Yes. So I totally want to see that film. Outside of that, Alien Earth, the new Alien
Mm.
series is coming. So they'll
Oh,
have
yeah,
a
yeah.
panel.
Yeah.
And also the trailers for that or the commercials for that look better than I expected. So
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
I hope to kind of sneak my way into some of these things and
Yep. Yep.
see what is all about. But outside of that, usually every Comic Con you come out of it with like one or two memories that you didn't plan, and
Mm.
that's the best thing about it. Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think well, to be honest, I've only been paid to be there
Yeah,
because I will work.
you're working there, so you don't have time to do the
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's more like, it's there is no day of the week. It's just day 1, day 2, day 3, and it's at least when I've done San Diego, it's only been with one client. So usually only have to focus on one or two titles. But it can be crazy um and just being on the guest side of stuff, like just the masses of people is and it can be intimidating, especially like the signings and stuff. Like it can be pretty like I don't know. If you're an artist doing signings, especially at the higher levels and stuff, they're used to it. But it's just
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So just the sheer number of like the people and the presence is pretty astounding, I should
Right.
say.
It's crazy. And it's just also, it is for us, right? It's for dorks, it's for nerds. It's,
Mm,
and you all these things are normal to us if you've been to many Comic Cons, but I just have to
right.
wonder like for the celebrities, especially if they're there for their first time. Like I
Mm,
don't know if Greta Lee has been to a Comic Con before, right? But
mm.
what's bound to happen is when they open up the audience QA.
Oh, I hate that
Someone's
stuff.
gonna walk up, wearing like a funny costume
Right.
and trying to ask her a serious question, and somehow she has to answer that without wondering where the hell she is. Right? It's like you just have these Comic Con moments, and
mm.
um, it really is an experience. But if you're claustrophobic, you don't like crowds, do not go
Not
to
for
San
you.
Diego Comic Con. Go find your local Comic Con that is much more reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you even venture into the Gaslight area during Comic Con? Do you just
I mean, usually I'm staying somewhere in the Gaslight, so
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's going to be the
Okay.
case this year.
Okay.
Mostly for food, though, right? Like, there's Gaslight isn't the best food. Everybody, please,
Right.
do some research if you're going and go up to at least Little Italy or something. But there's some good tacos and a
Tacos. I was
couple
gonna say
good
tacos.
places. Yeah,
Yeah, you could just randomly walk to a taco joint within the Gaslight, and 90% of the time, like I've never been
right. Yeah,
unsatisfied, for
yeah.
sure.
But
Yeah.
a lot of touristy traps when it comes to food in the Gaslight. And again, as you may know, with this convention or any other giant convention, a lot of the Gaslight's also activated for Comic Con,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the hotels or businesses or bars like turn their interior and exterior themed to one of the sponsors
Mhm.
shows or franchises, and a lot of it you can't actually get into without a ticket or
Yep.
an invite or some kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
so we'll see.
Fun
We'll see
times.
how I'll report back probably in our
Yeah.
recording starting next week.
Yeah, that should be interesting. Yeah, so yeah, looking forward to that report.
Yeah. Well, going back to Shuang. So Shu is someone that I met at South by Southwest at their film festival. And she, as I mentioned, you know, lightning in a bottle. I'm not sure how you describe it. She, during COVID, had really turned to content creation online. So for people that want to follow her, she'll talk about her social media. But her name's Shuang Hu. And I think, one of those, uh, she talks about it like it's easy, right? Like, oh, I wrote a film, set up a meeting with Amazon. They loved it. They bought it, and they said, "Oh, you should star in it." Right? It's like what?
Mm.
I think a lot of people would love to do that. So I find her story pretty fascinating, and yet, I think she's also very aware that it's hard to strike twice, and is very hard at work at looking for those other opportunities,
Yeah.
and
But if you already have like
almost.
millions of followers and stuff and you're kind of guaranteeing studios an X amount of eyeballs already, I mean, you are
Yeah,
ahead of the game
it's a
for
different
sure.
different model, right? Now
Yeah,
that
yeah.
doesn't mean you could take Mr. Beast and put him in a film and it's going to be good, right? So there's still um, acting chops and whatnot that are key requirements to that transition. I don't want to make it sound easy by any means, but I think it's an interesting story. She's actually Asian Australian, living in LA most of the time now, and she's got a YouTube show that is, I think they just aired their second episode. And so again, she'll talk about all these things. Just quick question for you before we turn it over to the interview.
Yeah.
Her film Five Blind Dates.
Uh-huh.
I know you and I have talked before about whether we've been on blind dates before, and
Yeah.
the answer is generally no. And I know, for anyone listening and you don't see us, it's been a while since either of us have been in the dating scene, so we don't have great recent
Yeah.
dating stories. But do you have any memories from like a really bad date or anything?
um uh, no. I mean, other than like the guy ghosting me on like a third date.
Ghosting, like not
Not
responding, or just
returning,
didn't show up?
didn't
Like,
show up, and yeah, we were supposed to participate in a farm walk and I got the tickets and I got a ticket for his dog and he just like ghosted me. So, yeah, I was out like a couple bucks.
and did he ever text or call and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I
Oh,
forgot"?
no,
True
that is
ghosting.
no, 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 that's yeah, ghosting, like
Okay.
to the T. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's no fun. That's no
Yeah.
fun.
Yourself?
Bad dates. I don't know. Hopefully I wasn't someone's bad date, but I not really. I had my run on like Match.com, even
Oh.
Yahoo Personals back in the
Oh,
day, for
yeah.
anyone
Early, yeah.
who,
Yeah.
yeah, like early days. Tells everybody
Yeah.
how old I am.
Yeah. But my friend
Um
got married that way.
oh really? Okay.
Yeah,
I
from
mean,
Yahoo
sure,
Personals back in the
it
day,
works
yeah.
for people, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um I don't remember anything bad, right? I mean, if anything, I would say, met a lot of nice people, and online dating was always a little bit strange in the sense that they felt, and I, frankly, I probably contributed to it. They felt a little bit like job interviewee, right? Like you ask probably more questions and kind of size up someone more so than just meet them naturally and have fun. At
Right.
least that was my experience. I think I probably only learned that I can't really date someone much younger than me was one of my learnings.
Well, I'm
You know
glad
how,
you're one of those men who have figured that out, so at this time in your life.
like, I think well, no, it's not at this time in my life. It was back when I was dating, and I was probably like right around 30, maybe like 31, 32. And you know I assume the dating apps today are the same, right? You pick your little, there's some things you pick like age range or location or ethnicity or body type, if I recall. And so I think I would just be pretty liberal on the age range, right? Like, oh, sure, 21 to 35. I'm 31. And, it ended up most of the people that I did go on dates with were closer to my age, like within a couple of years. But I do remember going on a date with like a 21 or 22-year-old, and I was like, oh boy,
Uh,
this is not what I expected. We are
yeah,
not on the same plane, and
yeah,
uh,
and it
you
just
know,
gets worse the older you get. So there you go.
yeah, I'm sure. So yes, Junko, I
Yep.
am very self-aware that I should not be dating folks much, much, much younger than me.
Yeah.
So anyway, well,
Anyway.
uh, hopefully everybody enjoys Shuang. She was lovely to talk to. I consider her a friend, and definitely look up her socials after the interview and go watch the movie Five Blind Dates. Any closing thoughts, Junko?
Ah. Okay.
All right,
Let's go to the interview.
here you go. Well, welcome back. I'm here with our guest today, Shuang Hu. And
Hi, hi.
actually, before we even go further than that, did I pronounce that correctly? Like, is there a better phonetic, pure Chinese Australian way you want that to be said?
Well, in Chinese, it's Shuang,
Shuang. Okay.
Shuang, Shuang. It's actually,
Yeah.
I have like, that's my nickname in China. So people always say it together. Like, my parents always say Shuang, Shuang.
Uh,
Mm.
and then
But
stateside, I feel like I've heard people just call you Shu a lot too, right?
this is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Only people from high
Yeah.
school call me Shuang or
Okay.
Shuang. Shuang
Okay.
is like the Aussies.
Okay. Well, okay if I go Shu the rest of the way?
Yeah, please.
All right.
See,
Perfect.
Shu to
Perfect.
me sounds more sincere now because it's like a nickname and it's what people after uni started calling me. So like
Sure.
I respond to Shu better than Shuang.
Okay, perfect. Well, I met you at South by, and actually,
Mm,
no, that's not true. I met you
not true at all.
right the end of last year at the
Uh-huh.
Unforgettable Gala.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is for people listening, Gold House's Unforgettable Gala. I guess it's like a notch down from the Gold Gala. I'm not sure how to describe the Unforgettable Gala, but
Well,
somehow
it's
I
like
found
the
my way.
original.
Yeah.
We're not to like pat ourselves on the back, but the Unforgettable Gala was the original OG like Asian gala that everyone wanted to get invited to.
This is true. This is
And
true.
we got invited to that. So how
Yeah.
fun are we?
Well, somehow I snuck in at least. Um, and then through the course of the night, and probably frankly toward the end of the night, there was I don't know if you call it photo booth or portrait station. And,
Mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
know, probably it wasn't until a day or two later that I was looking through my photos, like, oh, I have this photo with like 4 random people in, of whom I all met probably in that line, and you were
Mm-hmm.
one of them. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I probably did some Googling to figure out who you were, or like matched you to the tip sheet or something, and then ran into you at South by, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, wait, that's you. You're the one in my photo. So we've actually met a couple times live. But for everybody who's listening, um, what I had known you from prior to that was Five Blind Dates. And this is, in many ways, an interesting film that, from a layperson standpoint, showed up on Amazon without a whole lot of fanfare. I mean, I think that's probably something we could talk about without you, necessarily shitting on your distributors or anything. But it just showed up. And, usually in the Asian American or Asian film diaspora, you hear about these things. And yet this one kind of popped up, and I was very intrigued, and I watched it and enjoyed it. It's a very, for people that like rom-coms, it's a very fun movie to watch. But then I learned a little bit more about you when I met you, that you didn't just star in this film, but you actually were a writer on this film, and played a big part in actually getting it on Amazon. So take us through that part of the journey, and then we'll dive into the film a little bit more.
Yeah, so when I first moved to LA like 6, 7 years ago, I started learning about filmmaking. I took producing classes at UCLA, and I was really intrigued um, about making films. And coming from an acting background, you're not necessarily taught or made familiar with how movies are actually made. And so this producing class was kind of an eye opener. It made me realize that if I wanted to, I could create and make my own film. And at the time, there weren't a lot of opportunities for people like me. I think moving to America and having, an Aussie accent and being new to the industry, breaking through was quite difficult because there's already a lot of established Asian American actors here that are, well known in at least in our community and now in the industry. So I didn't find it that easy to break in. So I thought, well, the next best option is maybe creating something myself. So I was lucky enough to meet my co-writer Nathan Ramos Park, and together we came up with this concept, this rom-com idea. And then soon after that, we pitched it to Amazon, and they loved it. And they had just opened up their Australian arm in Australia, and they were looking for local content, and they were looking for something fun and diverse. And Nathan and I both love rom-coms. I've loved
Mhm.
rom-coms since day one, and we were both just like so excited about this Five Blind Dates idea that we came up with, and they loved it too. So within 2 weeks, we had a deal going, and they asked us to write it for them, and then they offered me to act in it, and then and we did like rounds and rounds of writing, and luckily they liked the final draft and greenlit it, and then
Yeah.
we filmed it in Australia. And it came out last year.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, you said a few things in there that I'm not sure that the general population are going to agree with, right? So you said, "Oh, it's maybe easier." You thought you had this epiphany that it's maybe easier to make a film than to star in a film. And yes,
So
being an
naive.
actor is not easy, but trust me, I talk to people all the time who are writing scripts, writing screenplays, trying to break in. Um, it, even the meeting to pitch it in front of Amazon, I wouldn't frankly anticipate that's that easy, right? I would think if I wrote a screenplay today, no matter how good the idea, how do I get someone at Amazon to even look at it? So between you, Nathan, did one of you have connections with Amazon? Or I don't
Yeah,
know Nathan's
Nathan.
background, but is he a fairly established
Writer.
screenwriter? Okay.
Yeah, he at that time had been writing for about a decade, and his background is mostly in writing. He does acting as well, but he had sold a few shows, and he's quite talented as a comedic actor. Sorry, as a comedic writer, and he had some connections at Amazon, and they just like happened to be talking about it, and then this idea came up, and then we had a formal pitch meeting after that.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what the percentages are? Because I'm still going to guess that it's like a single digit percentage of projects that get in front of them that actually get greenlit, especially now, right? I think it's just getting harder and harder.
Probably like less than single digits,
Yeah. Yeah. Like
decimals.
1 in 1,000, maybe. That's a data point I'm going to have to find. Okay. So it came out last year. You tell me we can try to not spoil it too much because I want people to go watch it also. But the five blind dates, the five personas. Well, first of all, let's start with your character. You play Leah, and maybe give a little bit of the synopsis of Leah and
Sure.
her background. Yep.
Okay, so Leah is an absolute tea lover. She is trying to teach the traditions of Chinese tea to the Australian community, but she's failing miserably. And then she's told by a fortune teller that not only will she marry one of the next 5 dates she goes on, but her business will succeed as well because of it. So she's forced by her family to go on these 5 dates, and because they don't trust her to go and choose a man of her dreams, they pick someone for her. So they each pick someone for her: the mum, the dad, the sister, the best friend, and then she gets to pick one person. So that's
Sure.
why it's 5 blind dates.
Yeah, and there's some betting. There's obviously like family, rivalry going on in terms of positioning their choices. Did any of the personas of the 5 gentlemen who become the blind dates inspired by real life friends or even boyfriends or dates you had been on?
One of them, yes. So there's I'm not sure if this is kosher or not to talk about, but when I was living in Brisbane, I was working in finance, and the people that we hung out with in my kind of friendship group, there's one particular older gentleman who kind of was like an investor in like my friends' projects, and he's like a friend of a friend. I'm not that close with him, but I know his story from everybody gossiping about it. How he has a family in Japan, he's got a wife and kids, but he's got like a mistress in Australia who goes around with him acting like his assistant, but it's actually his mistress. He has a house for her in the Gold Coast, and he's got his own house in Brisbane, and he just basically flies her everywhere. And then the wife found out about it and then left his ass. Anyway, but I just found this story really intriguing, and it just wasn't one of a kind. Apparently it's quite rampant in Asia among businessmen.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, I'm gonna base one of the characters off this guy, because clearly it's like a thing that happens. And it's it's not great. It's not a great reputation to be putting out there that like rich Asian businessmen be doing that. But that is a reality of the situation, and I think they get a lot of peer pressure to do it when their friends are doing it. And I don't want to say it's cultural, but kind of, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like, it's frowned upon, to have a mistress in the West, but in Asia, it's almost like accepted. And I don't know if we should even talk about that, or if that's too taboo to talk about, Ben, but feel free to cut that out if
Yeah.
it's like too
No, it's definitely
controversial.
not. Look, I mean, these are kind of the topics we address sometimes, right? It's like, in fact, one of our next guests is an author of a book called Fetishizing of Asian Women. And it very much is along that same theme, right? It's how do Asian men, treat Asian women is an important topic that isn't often talked about, especially in Asia. Because what you're saying, now we're totally like, off track, but what you're saying, think about it, like the show Pachinko on Apple TV is basically the story you just described, right? It's been going on for generations.
Uh-huh.
And I think if any of us go back far enough in our family histories, how often do you hear like someone tell you, oh yeah, we learned at my grandfather's funeral that he had a whole nother family and a whole nother set of children. Like, you hear these stories.
Mm.
I it's not something that I've studied and really understand why, like whether it's peer pressure or just socially accepted back then. And maybe probably the thing that I would start with is maybe there's just a different definition of husbands and wives in Asian cultures, or a lot of Asian cultures, especially if you go back a few generations, and hopefully that's all changing, right, for the better. But to your point, it still happens. But anyway, back to the film. What is your there had, besides liking rom-coms, was there an inspiration about blind dates? Do you have a big blind dating history between you and Nathan? Not that you guys met on a blind date, but that you've been on blind dates, he's been on blind dates, that made you think this is great comedic fodder?
Mm. Well, I'd say Nathan probably has been on a few more blind dates than me, but I think we bonded. I think he has more of a dating experience in like going on a few more dates than me, and like social dating, whereas I was majority in monogamous relationships. So some of the characters were actually based on people that I had dated, and maybe like they say write what you know, and sometimes, at least in that, in Five Blind Dates, I think one of the characters was like, I guess, a fantasy ending in my head
Mm.
of someone that I'd met in the past, and like wished I could have ended up with, but I wasn't able to be with him. So I kind of wrote it in the ending or in the movie that we end up together, which is a little like therapeutic for me.
Okay.
So like some of the I guess more like some of the more like traditional dating themes came from my life, and some of the more like funner and spontaneous and a bit more wild dating experiences came from Nathan. I think it was a nice combination.
Sure. Yeah. Does the gentleman that you just talked about in real life know that he is the inspiration for this character? Not to put you on the spot.
No, never talked to him about it. I think he congratulated me about the film because we were
Okay.
very good friends even after we broke up. It
Yeah.
took me a long time to get over him. And we were friends all the way until he met his wife. And then it just wasn't appropriate for us to keep hanging out so regularly. And we don't talk very much now at all. But he did congratulate me about the movie, and I don't know if he ever watched it. So I don't know if he might never know. But I'm definitely not going to tell him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's probably a lower chance he'll discover this podcast and be outed, so we'll keep it between us.
Okay, it's our secret.
Yeah. Now the one of the things you mentioned to me when we met was that you purposefully made sure that you ended up with an Asian guy in the film, and that was how you wrote it. I'm curious, and that struck a chord with me, right? Because that's not often the outcome you see for Asian guys in real life or in film. Was there ever any pressure, pushback from studios or from just people along in the production to change that outcome?
No, they were
That's
so
great.
supportive. My gosh, Amazon have just like I've not had a lot of other experiences with it. Well, yeah, okay. In terms of experiences with studios, Amazon has probably been the best so far. They were very, very supportive of everything that we wanted to do in this film, wanted to say, all of the themes. The only notes I really had was about story, just improving story, but characters, they completely left it up to us. They were fully on board with every single character we wrote. They never pushed back or questioned it. And I think it's because they really wanted us to tell a story that was authentic to us, and really only we could tell it. And our execs were, like white females. They were females, so they loved the love story, but there was no one on the exec team that was from an Asian background, so they just really entrusted us with the whole the story. And they, even when we had the production company come on board, Amazon was still really championing our story and making sure that the production company didn't try to like influence it in any way either.
That's great.
Yeah, that like no, there was never a question of, oh, this guy should be Asian. They were like, every single person should be diverse. You want all the dates to be Asian? Great, all the dates can be Asian. Or like we wanted every single date to be diverse to showcase like the true Australian landscape. 12% of Australians are Asian. And when I grew up, I dated a lot of Asians. I kind of go back and forth. I date one Asian, and I'm like, oh, sick of Asians. And then I date a white guy, and I'm like, sick of white guys. Date an Asian. Like, I've never dated the same race back to back.
Consecutively. Interesting. Well, that sparks some other questions that I'll ask you. But before we leave Five Blind Dates, what's been the response? I know it's been out a year, and it's probably been a little while since it's been, on the whatever front page of listings or anything. But certainly, a year ago, what was the reaction? And then I'd like to think that it has inspired some other projects for Amazon at the very least.
Yeah. So when we were in pre-production, we were told that they had or that they were in talks to make a UK version. And And that actually came out this year, and it starred Simone Ashley. She was the
Yeah, from
yeah,
Bridgerton, right? Yeah.
right. Yes, the girl from Bridgerton, and she EP'd it as well. And they changed the story slightly so that her character likes taking photos. Because in real life, I heard that Simone Ashley actually likes taking photos,
Mm.
and that's her passion. Whereas tea is my passion. That's why I wrote a movie about tea, because I used to have a little tea shop in Australia, and I love tea so much. And I couldn't like share it physically in the real world with Australians, but to be able to write it in a movie and then share it in that way is like just as satisfying for me. But I Amazon like really loved the it's like the theme and the structure of our film, so that's why they were so behind it in making a UK version. Because I could see how the same story with an Indian family could make sense and do just as well, and it
Yeah,
did.
it's an yeah, and it's an easy enough theme, right? And in fact, Amazon has lots of dating shows, whether it's reality TV or more narrative type of shows or films. So it kind of makes sense for their audience too. Um, Okay, so Five Blind Dates is behind you now. After going through that whole process of being a new film production writer and lead actress, anything you do differently, and any kind of learnings in terms of what you might consider the next time you've got, and you could be in that moment right now where you've got projects, because again, the whole streaming world is kind of a hard one to figure out.
I think what I would do differently would be more on the maybe the acting front. I think because I spent so much time writing and then thinking about like producing side, I probably um, didn't put as much time into the acting as I would have liked, or at least had the uh, confidence to um, really put my foot down on some of the ways I would have liked my character to be portrayed or to come across. And I think next time, I think I'll take a little bit more time in the rehearsal to talk to the director and just try to get more on the same page. And also, um, maybe just, yeah, maybe push my agenda a little bit more. I think I'll feel more confident next time.
Do you have, so you mentioned prior to coming to the US and to LA, you hadn't thought too much about the production side or the making of films versus the
Mhm.
acting side.
Mhm.
Do you ever see yourself maybe doing more of that? And did you, like, I guess if you were to pick projects going forward, what percentage of them would you like them to be more behind the camera?
Mm. Uh, Gosh, if I could choose, maybe half half.
Mhm.
I love
Okay.
the ability to just walk on set, know my lines, do my thing, and then go home. And I've been lucky enough to be able to just act in projects where I didn't was not the creator and not the writer, and it's so much more freeing, like time wise. You don't have to worry about anything else except for being the best actor you can be.
Mhm.
And I find in those kind of roles, I my acting is better. I'm more focused,
Mhm.
but um, not to, it's like not trying to like make excuses for myself, but I think
Well, no,
and
I mean, I think you're being self-critical, right? Because I think what you're saying is that, and this was like your first big project in many ways, certainly that on this scale, right? So to
yeah,
be the writer, producer, and also it's not just the lead role, but lead role with, probably 70-80% of the screen time too, right? I mean, it's I can see exactly what you're describing, right? It's that you're so focused on some of these other things, making sure the scene's right, making sure the script is right, that yeah, like you couldn't fully immerse yourself into the character side and the acting side. That's why some actors are method actors, right? And they just kind of immerse themselves in their character. So
Yeah.
it's not, it doesn't come across as an excuse. Frankly, it comes across as a learning.
Yeah, it is. And I think I'm like self-aware, and I'm very like I'm my biggest critic. When I know when I do a good job, and I know when I don't. So and I know where there's areas to improve, and I think especially in the arts, there's just no finish line. I think you're
Sure.
constantly growing and improving.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess
Yeah.
I'm just grateful for the experience.
Sure. All right. So born in China, grew up largely in Australia.
Sure.
Now, what I know of you, you've spent a lot of time in LA, between LA and New York, but it sounds like LA is mostly your home within the United States. What was your initial spark to become an actress? What inspired you?
Mm.
Who inspired you, maybe?
I actually always liked it since I was younger. I remember in grade 7, I auditioned for the school rock pop mime. It's kind of like the Stedford, where every school is in primary school, all the schools in the area compete for like they perform a show, and then the judges vote, and they win an award. And like this was like the biggest thing in our school. Every year we like the best actors, the best dancers got to go and perform in this one show and
And
represent the
this
school.
is in China or Australia?
Australia. This is in
Okay. Yep.
Townsville. Grew up in
Okay.
Townsville. Uh, and I auditioned grade 5 and 6 because my best friend asked me to audition. But I personally did not want to audition. I was very shy. I hated public speaking. The thought of performing in front of people made me want to puke. So I would stand in the back of the auditions because they would line people up. And then I would just stand in the back and not really do anything. But in grade 7, something changed. I don't know what it was, but my persona just flipped. I went from like super introverted to super extroverted, like a bit like literally polar opposites. And I can't tell you what happened. It just did. And
Something
then
clicked. Yep.
yeah. And then in grade so this was grade 7, and then my best friend at the time asked me to audition for the rock pop mime again. And I did with my, extroverted personality this time. And I landed one of the lead roles. And it was a complete fluke. I can't tell you how it happened, but I remember the one of the teachers who auditioned me was like, there was just something in your eyes. I could just like, I could feel the character in your eyes. I believed you. And I was like, oh, interesting. And now that you, as an actor, and when you actually like do go through acting classes, you're like, oh, that's actually a very integral part of being a good actor, that
Absolutely. Yeah.
that people believe it, and it is through your eyes. Your eyes are the window to your soul. And so it's so funny. Like I look back at that memory and I'm like, that was it. That was like the moment where something like changed in me. But I didn't pursue it at all because my parents were very strict, and they were the type that they were both very academic, and they expected us to go to university and study something that was going to be useful in the world. So I studied hotel management and international business. And then when I graduated, they were like, okay, you can go do whatever you want now. You get a full-time job, and then you can do some extracurricular activities. So then my uni best friend asked me to do acting classes with her. And I'd never thought about doing acting classes before. It never even crossed my mind. Like I was on a trajectory to be a businesswoman. And then I started taking acting classes, and I just fell in love. I think it was a mix of the challenge of the job, because I will be honest, I was terrible when I started, but I couldn't act to save my life. I was so bad. But then I slowly, with time, got better with more experience. But so I loved the challenge of it, just to try to get better at something and understand something and try to like conquer it. And then the second one was the people. I really enjoyed and respected and admired the people in the film and TV industry, and the actors in my class, because they didn't care about money, they didn't care about fame, they just cared about this craft and telling a really good story and being like a really good storyteller and being a good actor, like something that just like brings value to the world. Like they're doing it for someone else. They're like acting so other people feel something. And it was just such like a mind-blowing like point of view that I'd never considered before, because I came from this corporate world where everyone just cares about money.
Sure.
And so
Yeah. Well, and it's like you found an art community essentially. And, I think a lot of people kind of maybe describe when they're getting into something like that. Similarly, on the flip side, as you've gotten now closer to the business side of the industry, do you still feel that way or have you gotten jaded?
okay, not gonna lie, it's definitely soul crushing sometimes knowing the business side of the industry, and sometimes it really does, it's not about the art we want it to be, but there's like, you also have to fulfill the business side. Sometimes it can be just about the art, but it's got to be about the art and the business. Got to make sense financially. I get it now. And you can't avoid it. It is what it is. And I think at the end of the day, when people are on set telling a story, I think the doesn't matter how it started, but like the end result is like the people, the team that come together, they're still trying to make something great and something artistic and tell a story. And so I think it just like the end result is fantastic and it's just warms my heart.
Yeah,
So you
I
got
think
to
you're right.
do
I think you're right. Sometimes it's not for the best, but sometimes it actually helps improve the final product if what we're referring to is just kind of other voices, guiding our project or what it looks like as a finished product. It's a good segue because I think one of the sparks I had to have you on the podcast, because we talked about this briefly and then I saw you make a post on Instagram, is where you are in your career now in terms of the transition or the journey as a serious actress,
Mhm.
right? With a couple important credits to her name, but also as a content creator, right? And you literally have two different identities on Instagram, for instance. But talk about this part of the journey for you, because I find it really interesting, even just in today's entertainment world and landscape, how someone balances wanting to be seen, hey, I want to be the next Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie isn't doing content creation, versus like in today's world, how people get exposure, and even in many cases, how people support their careers financially, they have to do content creation. So kind of what's your philosophy on all this, and where are you headed? And probably for folks that don't know, feel free to like elaborate on your social activities. I know you've got your Instagram accounts, TikTok, YouTube. You've got a lot of different ventures going on.
Well, it wasn't like I set out to be a content creator. I set out to be an actress when I moved here, and that was always the goal. But when the pandemic hit, I had to make a pivot because our industry shut down. So that's when I started making content online just as a way to express myself creatively because there just was no other option. And then the videos gained traction and I was able to grow a fan base. And that was while I was also making Amazon. So I pitched Five Blind Dates back in May 2020 with Nathan. So it was like it's not like they happened separately. They happened literally at the same time. As I made like pitch this movie, was making this movie, I was still doing content creating, making content creating, and I think they were related. I mean, Amazon saw that I did have a decent fan base at the time, so I think, of course, they were like, okay, she must be doing something right. And it took 4 years for this movie to come out, and in those 4 years, I was still making content. And it was really hard for me to separate myself from being a content creator, because while this movie had not come out yet, and even though I was working on it and I couldn't announce it, I was growing on social media and people were recognizing me as a content creator, especially in the Asian community. You know, when you go to red carpet and they hand you your piece of paper with your name and what you do underneath, it was always influencer. It wasn't like actress from Ronnie Chang International Student or actress from The Family Law. It was influencer. So that was like then my identity in the community, and that's what people knew me as, and that's where I was getting, you know, like influence and clout from. And I think a lot of people who don't know who I am thought that I became an influencer first and then moved into film and TV and then got my role on Amazon. But whereas it's actually the complete opposite. But I just wasn't famous being an actress. So I think I just really struggled with letting one thing go and just completely focusing on the other. Because I think especially in this day and age, it's really hard to not it's hard to get attention when you don't have a social following. And unfortunately, I didn't get a social following from being an actress. I got it from being a content creator, being funny online, making skits. And that's what people know me as. That's what they know me for. And I think I made that Real Me series because I realized that people online did not know who I was. They didn't know my history. They didn't know what I'd done. And they just assumed I was always a content creator and always an influencer from day one. So I guess I was just trying to kind of educate my audience a little bit and try to be more me and real and just like real, not play a character, which I've never done before. I didn't feel like safe doing that. And I think it's because I am still a little bit torn. I think it's like I'm very grateful to be even in this position where I have to choose between my real identity and then my online persona. But it definitely I struggle with it because, you know, when I made that post back in February saying I'm not going to do any more skits anymore, I'm going to focus on my acting, I did make a hard pivot to focus on my acting and try to and writing and try to make more like, you know, like mainstream media content. But it was really hard to stay that way because my income was tied to my social media, and that was my bread and butter. And then when you stop posting and you stop growing, brands don't want to work with you. So I had a real like struggle, and I think I still struggle with it because I may not be doing what I set out to do initially, but I don't hate where I'm at. So it's really hard for me to completely move away from content creating because I know I'm good at it. And I have these stories that I can tell that I can literally think of it, write it down, film it, and then it'll come out in a week. Whereas a movie will take a whole like 4 years to come out from creating it. And you have to convince so many people to say yes to you. Whereas if you want to make content, you have an idea, you just do it. And there's power in that. And it's really hard for me to let go of that. And so I'm like, I don't have the solutions. And there's I think few people that are in the same position as me, so it's hard to get advice. But when I do speak to some content creators who are also actors and trying to do both, they struggle. There's no solution to it because you just like the power of social media is so intoxicating, and being able to just have a direct access to direct access to your audience and being able to control your own career is something as an actor you don't have.
You don't have, yeah. And as long as no one has told you, right, as a casting director has told you, hey, you almost got this part, the reason we didn't choose you is because we think you're too silly online or something like that, or not serious, then I see no detriment. And I'm not hearing from you that one is, other than maybe time and energy, that one is necessarily detrimental to the other. As long as you manage your online reputation and persona well, right? And obviously, because there are others who maybe dip into, I don't know what the right description, more R-rated content or whatnot, where then I would say, okay, that's going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not doing that. You're storytelling. All of your social is still about telling, whether it's your story or stories that are relevant to, Asian culture. I see a lot of stuff about like Asian moms. It's great stuff. And
Well, thank
I
you.
don't see it hurting you, and hopefully that continues to be the case. But that's a good answer. I've always been curious about this topic, and we'll talk about it again and see how that continues to evolve for you.
Yeah, I've got a few things. I'm like planning a few things and strategizing to make it um, work better so that I can still have what I want, so I can have my cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
I
Well, there
think
you go.
I'm kind of finally getting to the point where I think I've like solved it, but it hasn't succeeded yet. So when we talk in 6 months, I'll let you know what my plan is and whether it has succeeded or not.
Awesome. Yeah.
Haven't executed.
Well,
I wouldn't say it has. I haven't succeeded yet. I just haven't like released it yet. Is what I should
okay.
say.
Well, and again, to your credit on the creator side, I've seen you speaking at creator or content creator conferences like VidCon recently and things like that. So it's clearly working for you. You said something about your acting and kind of the epiphany of being seen as authentic through your eyes. And as you know, like a lot of Asians over the years, one of the old excuses for not casting Asians in anything, film, TV, was that, oh, Asians, their eyes are too small, therefore they can't really express themselves. It's all what we've been battling against for a long time. I'm interested, you having kind of this split career between Australia and America.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you see any differences between perceptions of Asian talent across the two different landscapes?
Well, I was just gonna say when you said small eyes, look at Sandra Oh. Her eyes are not the biggest, but man, she's a great actor. When I saw her on Grey's Anatomy all those years ago, I was like, man, Sandra Oh
Yeah,
is hilarious.
yeah,
She's my
and very
favorite actor.
expressive, very
Very
expressive.
expressive.
And Anna Sawai, who won every single award you can last year, I don't think anybody would say she's got big eyes, right? But
Right.
boy, she was amazing. So yeah,
Yeah.
clearly, you guys are all proving that stereotype wrong. But yeah.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, but
Um,
anything different about Australia versus America? I mean, obviously the size of the American industry, but in terms of how, what the opportunities look like for Asians.
yes, I think it's getting better, but Australia is still a little bit behind America, just because we don't have the level of creative talent that America does. Like we have so many Asian writers here trying to make Asian stories where Australia doesn't, which is why I was very adamant about making an Aussie rom-com and putting a bunch of Asians in it because we are just not given the opportunity. Um, like when I came up in Australia, I was in the two TV shows, the two Asian TV shows. That was it. Ronnie Chang International Student and The Family Law. There's been no Asian TV show with a majority Asian cast. Since then, I don't. Oh, except for Gold Mountain. Um, that was, I think, no, I wasn't majority Asian either. There was like two main Asian leads. Um, but that's, in Australia, there's just not as much opportunity, and I think it's purely because they're a lot more risk adverse because the industry is not very big. So a lot of the diversity projects are funded by the government, which is lovely that they do that. So at least the Australian government is very supportive of diverse
Yeah, that's not
voices.
happening here right now. We know.
But there's enough money here. There's enough money here to, kind of combat that, make up for it. Whereas private funding in Australia for film and TV is not as prevalent as it is here. So there definitely is just not as many opportunities. And because the industry is so small, they give opportunities to people who have already made it. who are already like well known, because again they're risk adverse. So I think if I was in Australia, I don't think I would have been able to make Five Blind Dates. Nobody would have taken me seriously. There's no way in all hell somebody would have taken me as like as the first screenwriter, taken a meeting with me, and given me a chance. But that is what I love about America. Somebody did that. People are willing to give chances to first time writers, first time directors, people with passion who have a story to tell or like so believe in what they're doing. People want to get on board. And that is, America is the land of opportunity because people are willing to give chances. There's like, I guess, there's enough projects here that, if one doesn't do as well, maybe another will do well. It's just like, that's the business side of it, and that's the reality of the situation. So I don't
Have
blame
you,
I'm sorry.
even in the last 12 months, do you feel the same about that in the US? And I don't know the answer. I'm just curious, actually, because of the tone of the administration. Studios
Oh,
are still run by rich white guys, right? And so if they feel less, not only pressure to create diverse projects, both behind the screen and in front of the screen, but also now there's like government, there, not so much pressure, but just government permission almost not to be diverse. Disney, for instance, their films haven't all done great, and maybe they'll say, you know what, we're done being woke. They're being criticized for being too woke. Have you seen any opportunities actually decline? Because I consider, and I think we all consider, like Crazy Rich Asians or Everything Everywhere, like the peak, not the peak, but maybe the beginning of a lot of opportunity. And sometimes I worry,
hmm.
is that starting to go the other way? So what's your observation been as you've been out there trying to find opportunities?
You're probably not wrong because after Crazy Rich Asians, there was definitely an insurgence of Asian content. People like, like studios, backers, they realized that Asian voices want to be heard, and there is support for Asian stories. And so then you saw an influx of Asian projects. There was, last year, was it the year before, the My Brother's Son and Asian Born American, all
And
these
Interior Chinatown, yeah, there were a few
Interior
shows. Yep.
Chinatown.
Yep.
They came out and they were all great, but they all got cancelled.
Exactly.
So, like, you might not be wrong for sure. What I'm seeing is there's a shift from studio made series into indie films. And people are like, okay, well, if you can make something, go get something made. Like, we're not gonna put studio money behind it anymore. I think, yeah, studios are, from what I can tell, a little bit more risk uh, adverse. Definitely now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And that's across, even outside of Asian made projects or Asian projects. I do,
Yeah.
again, I encourage people to go watch Five Blind Dates and all
Oh.
of the Asian films out there, because I think there's the other part of what is happening is, actually the Asian population in Australia is actually larger percentage wise, right? In the US, it's like, I think 6, 7, 8%. And the reality is, all those shows you talked about, right? Interior Chinatown, Brother Sun, they'd get renewed if people watch them.
Mm.
And and I've had this conversation, with friends before. It's like, well, even if every Asian watched it, that might not be enough.
Mm.
And so part of it is we have to make programs, shows, movies that appeal to a wider audience. We have to
Mm.
make shows or Asian content that appeals to both South and East Asians, right? Like, because Brother Sun might do great with East Asians, but maybe none of the South Asians watched it, and vice versa with Deli Boys right now, right? So, and I just keep wanting to tell people, at the very least, we have to support our own projects and go out and watch our films, watch our shows, and tell everybody about them. I know I've had you on here. You've been really generous with your time. Let's talk,
Yes.
before we let you go, let's talk about your newest project, Deserted, and what that's all about.
Yeah, that one's a really fun one. I got attached about 3 years ago. So the director, he's actually quite a well-known director writer in Australia and producer, and he attached me to play this woman. The character's name is Woman. This woman who gets stuck on a deserted island with another man. Character's name is Man, and you don't find out their names until a bit later, and there's a reason for that. But he wrote this series, this short series that is about like 7 minutes long and 5 to 7 minutes long, and there's like 8 episodes, and he just kind of wrote it as uh like a proof of concept and just something like fun that he really wanted to get off the ground to use as um, a a proof of concept for something bigger. Anyway, so I got attached because he liked my work and he really saw me in the character. So we met with him and the producer and also another actor. He like wrote it for this other actor, and we'd been kind of looking for some funding for a while, which was not easy to get. And then last year we applied to get funding from the Australian government for an online initiative, which is why it's going on my YouTube. Because that's what's great about the Australian government. They give money to big productions, but they also give money to like smaller productions for online spaces. So they gave us some money to make this online web series to go on my YouTube channel.
And they didn't give hundreds or thousands of these out, right? There was, if I remember seeing the posts, like 8 people got these grants, something like that.
Yeah, so 8 teams got this grant.
Yeah, great.
And I imagine quite a lot of people apply.
Of course.
But I think the story is like quite unique, and it felt like doing theater. Because if you watch it, it's 2 people talking to each other in this one spot. Nothing dramatic is happening. It's more the conversation that's funny. And the writer is very smart in the way he tells a story, because you find out about them a little bit, but not a lot, but enough to like keep you intrigued about these characters. And they always start off like one having an advantage and one having a disadvantage, and you see them as they talk, the roles flip, and one is like the disadvantaged one becomes like the advantage one, and like vice versa. And it's just like, so I think as a writer, I really respect the way he wrote these little, I guess you would call them sketches even, to be able to entertain someone for 5 to 7 minutes just standing there talking.
Yeah, it does sound like a play, and maybe that is the future of it. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could totally work as a play. And when we filmed and rehearsed it, we rehearsed it like a play, and then we filmed it like a play. We were just in one spot, and then we just did it over and over and over and over, the same scene over and over and over and over, and they just did different coverage, and then that was it. There was no breaks in between. We just had to film the whole 5 to 7 minutes in one go, which is, very rare in other projects.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
that sounds great. So people will find, you mentioned people would find it on your YouTube, but if they just search for Deserted, single S, the correct word is Deserted, they'll find it on YouTube.
I think so. Deserted, the one shoe, put those 2 together, and I don't imagine why it wouldn't show.
Perfect. Well, great. Okay, a couple fun questions for you before we wrap up. Just because I see you on social media, and by the way, for people who are just listening and not watching any of the video, Shu's got these nails that every time she raises her hands, I'm afraid she's going to scratch her face. But I know you were at the Blackpink concert last night. How was it?
Oh my god, it was amazing. I actually I'm so terrible with posting. I went on Saturday night, not Sunday night, which I'm really bummed about because I heard Bruno Mars was there.
Right.
I saw Bruno Mars was there, and I was like, devastated. No, but I went on Saturday, but I just be posting today because I'm like takes too much time to post, you know.
I know.
Yeah, so I was backdating, and these nails, I have had them for 6 months, but they're so long and so aggressive that I would never normally wear these nails, but I wore it for Blackpink because my
Yeah.
outfit was black and these nails are pink. So I thought together it would be perfect. But the product they give me to stick it on is like literally super glue. And now there's super glue to my fingers. And I don't want to soak my fingers in acetone because I think I have some cuts on my fingers. So I'm stuck with these nails for God knows how long. And it's so inconvenient. I do not know how women walk around with nails like this because I see it and I don't know how they do it. Major respect to them. But I've been suffering so much that I made a skit about it yesterday because I was like, this has to be relatable to someone out there.
And as a content creator, you've got to type at times. I'm trying to figure out how you even do that with those
Dictate
nails.
now. I can't on my I type like this on my computer, which is so slow. So I do everything on my phone.
I see. That makes sense. And are you a hardcore Blink, or were you just there to celebrate? You know, because I pretty much every Asian person I know in LA was at one of the concerts this weekend. But are you a Blink?
Yeah, I fully am. I know some of their songs. It's been a while since I've danced, so I had to like rehearse a little bit. But yeah, like for like 7 years, 7-8 years, I've like known them and liked them and listened to their music and used their songs in my skits.
Sure.
Yeah.
That would have been great to see. Bruno would have been great for sure last night. I was in LA for Belly Laughs, and so many times I would go on my phone. It's like, I wonder if tickets are getting cheaper last minute. Maybe I'll flip over there. But I stayed dedicated to the show. And then, you know, we ask everybody that comes on because we are united by rice. What if you, bad day, long day, you know, comfort food, what is the meal of choice, a rice-based dish of choice for you that is your go-to?
Probably a Japanese meal of some description, or actually a comfort food. Oh, you know what I like? It's a chicken. You know, I'm terrible with words. I just know how to make it because my roommate made it once and taught me. It's the one. It's not fried chicken kagi, but it's. I'm going to find it. We can pause this video.
Again, people can't see, but she's trying to type with her nails.
Chicken, Japanese, egg, steam. Let's see if it comes up. Steam.
Oh, I don't know the name of it, but I do know what you're talking about.
Right?
Yes, with the steam egg and chicken. Yes.
Oyakodon. Oyakadon.
Yes, oyakadon. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
So
my
you actually know how to make it. You learn from a roommate and you make it from time to time. Okay, great. And it sounds in general like you like Japanese food.
I do. It's actually my favorite genre of food. I love sushi.
Yeah.
I love sashimi. I go to the local farmer's market. I buy my sashimi salmon. I bring it home. I cut it up, put some sauce in it, soy sauce, a little bit of yuzu, a little bit of sesame seeds, and then mix it together with some scallion. We call it shallots in Australia. And then cut up some avocado, maybe do a little bit of cucumber, chuck it in a bowl on rice, and that's like my Sunday night dish. I love it.
So good. Well, thank you again. It's so lovely to talk to you again. And, you know, like you said, feel free to come on every 3-6 months and let us know how you're doing and keep us updated on projects. Very excited for you.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks for talking to me. This was fun.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. See you soon.
See you soon.